Hey, I'm Brian Van, SportbikeTrackGear.com. Today we're going to break down our Spiegler non-ABS brake line install on our 2022 STG Yamaha R7 project bike. Okay, in this video, we're going to be removing the ABS brake lines from our R7. Please note the lines that are on the bike currently were already Spiegler ABS ready brake lines that we installed, ironically, the same day last year and shot a video on it. The reason we're removing the ABS is we're going to be using this now as a track bike only. Part of this project will be removing the ABS unit, right, which is comprised of the pump and the brake pressure modulator valve. We have an ABS delete separate video, be a short one, where we show the flash tune unit that we're going to be installing, so we retain the functionality of like the speedometer, stuff like that, right? So the harness still stays in place. Separate video, if you're going to remove the ABS unit from the bike, you're going to need to install that. You could also cap off if you want. You're going to end up with an ABS light, but you could cap off the ABS unit and ride it that way. Pretty sure the ABS light is going to be on because the system is disconnected from the bike. Not 100% on that, but I know with the ABS delete from Flash Tune, you're going to lose some weight. Clean that all up very nicely under there. You have no ABS light and you have the functionality of the speedometer and such. This is a pretty straightforward install. It's important to note these are your brakes. If your brakes don't work and you happen to have a wreck because of that, it would suck really bad. If there's anything you see in this video that you're not comfortable doing yourself, take this bike to a licensed motorcycle technician and have them do it for you. Okay, so the place we're gonna start, you can see obviously bodywork's already off the bike. We're gonna be pulling the fuel tank off here in a minute because we need to be able to get to our ABS pump motor, brake pressure modulator valve, to eliminate all that, remove all these lines. The first thing you want to do is you want to the best of your ability, and you may not have the same tools that I have right here, right? You're going to want to get in here and drain the system. What I'm going to use is I'm going to use my air bleeder, right, to just drain the system fully. Not going to show you a lot of that because it's just going to make this video a whole bunch longer, right? But drain the system as thoroughly as you can to avoid spillage. We're going to show you just a little bit of this because you can't figure out how to drain the system. You probably shouldn't be tackling the whole project itself. Maybe I need to figure out how to get the right wrench. You see the reservoir level is dropping. When we come back, there's going to be no brake fluid in this bike. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get our fuel tank off the bike. We're going to start by removing the cover. Got a couple of 4mm internal hex fasteners, 3 on either side. There's a plastic clip that's still on here. Phillips screwdriver for this plastic clip. Release that. Sometimes those require a little pressure to remove. So once you've got the fasteners out of it, kind of grab it like this, and you want to pull and kind of rotate at the same time. We'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. So many of the bikes are coming with the anti-lock brakes now. You know, it's a feature that makes sense for the street. I think it makes your insurance a little cheaper too. But for the racetrack, that's really not beneficial. So on all the bikes that we build, we eliminate it. We'll also be installing a flash tune, FT-ECU, ABS delete. So we retain the necessary functions like the speedometer, but get rid of the ABS, so we'll lose a little weight on the bike too, which is never a bad thing. All right, kind of pull out, rotate up. Got a 12 millimeter internal hex, going to be over here on the left side of the bike. Just grab that socket real quick. All right, we got a 5 millimeter internal hex. Got 2 of these on either side. Like so. You know what's kind of funny is Lucas was telling me today, popped up in his memories or whatever, that last year, today's St. Paddy's Day, the day that we're filming this, vent lines for the fuel tank, we'll pop those off. His memories popped up from last year. This day, we shot the install video for the ABS brake line install, which we are ironically taking off today. Funny part is the bike never even got ridden with those brake lines on it. Okay, let's go get a little screwdriver here to release the fuel line lock. There's our harness. Push in here, pull down. Let's see if I can get that off. Maybe able to actually release the lock without using a screwdriver. I'm going to release the lock, rotate the line using my thumb and my index finger to depress the locks, like so. Notice how I left that pivot bolt in there just to kind of hold everything in place while we're getting everything good to go. Take that off and pull the tank off. Okay, just a precautionary thing here. I'm going to disconnect the battery. It's right there, easy to do. Okay, you can see right here, there is the ABS unit. They've made these things pretty lightweight, so realistically, you know, this whole process is only going to end up removing, you know, maybe a couple of pounds at best. We'll try and weigh it. You need to disconnect. All the lines are going to be replaced. I've got a brand new set of Spiegler brake lines for the front. I think it's the Rennsport 1 into 2, which is nice. And then a new brake line here at the back that's going to run from the master cylinder to the caliper. So everything in between the brake pressure, modulator valve, right, and the masters, it's all going to be gone. Make sure you have some rags handy. Even though we drain the system really well, we're going to end up with some residual fluid. I have that, and I have some cleaner. This stuff is pretty tough on paint. So I don't know how much of this stuff Lucas is going to show, because the removal process, this is the easiest part of it, without question. So it's going to be kind of boring. Removing all this does really free up a lot of space on the bike too. Excited to get out and ride this thing. First time, had it for a year. So busy last year, just never got to dive as deep into this project as we wanted to. Got a couple more things that I need to finish before we leave next Thursday. Today is, of course, Friday. Pushing this just a little bit. Shooting the videos for the installs definitely complicates it. You know, every project ends up taking like 5 times as long, because you're trying to show somebody the steps that were required to perform the install. And then, of course, we want to do it in such a way that you guys can use it as a resource complete your own project. So all along the way here, we're going to be this clip will actually ultimately end up being removed from the bike. There's going to be no need for that. This retainer will also no longer be needed. All right, so a lot of this stuff we can eliminate as we go through the process. We are back. That's the retainer, right, that we put in. When we installed the ABS line kit. Not going to need that. All right, get the line off the master. Now this particular line removed. You can see we definitely have a little bit of residual. Do the best we can to control that. Okay, now we can begin removing the other line. Some of this is going to get reused, right? Because we're going to retain the speed sensor is going to be still on the bike. So that clip you want to save. You want to save this one, as well as this mount back here. That one's going to get reused as well. Looks like that's a 4. This would be pretty similar. A lot of this routing is going to be pretty similar to your OEM ABS brake lines. That's why we're showing it. Most people are not going to be removing a set of aftermarket brake lines that they never actually used, which is kind of a bummer. Okay. Oh, looks like we have one more retainer right here. Based on that position, I don't think that one will be reused. Okay. When we come back, this line will be off the bike and we'll begin installing the new non-ABS rear brake line. Okay, let's go ahead and get this mocked up. These come with these little stickers that denote, right, which fittings for the caliper. This is for the caliper, this one's for the master. I already had removed those. I'm gonna go ahead and get this bad boy mocked up. We've got all new banjo bolts and crush washers. You really try not to reuse those. Just going to run this down finger tight for now. This line is going to come up front like that. Slide that down a little bit. Okay. It's going to go onto the master right here. You can see this fitting needs to be rotated just a little bit. So we're going to show you how to do that right now. It needs to be turned this way. Okay, so slide this out. They supply the tools to do this. It's right there on that ferrule. I'm going to hold these with a pair of channel locks. You can always take it off and put it in the vise if you prefer. Let's use the tool to turn it. Needs just a little bit more. Pretty close. You want to try and get it to the point where you don't have to put really any pressure right on the line in order to get it to line up with the brake component. In this case, it's the master cylinder. You could also perform this process down there at the caliper if you prefer. pretty close, but we still need just a little bit more. That should do that. Make sure your surfaces are all clean. Like so, just finger tight. Now we need to come over here, grab a hold of that rubber grommet, and we need to get this back into position here. It's going to slide on the line. You want a little bit of a hump right here. So this bracket can be reused. Before I slide the speed sensor in, I just want to make sure that I kind of have that lined up the way that I want it. It looks pretty good there. I can always revisit that a little bit. Grab your fastener. Kind of squeeze those together, slide the fastener through. It's going to hold itself together. Grab your T-handle, like so. Go ahead and torque that one down. All right, looks like we're moving in a pretty solid direction here. When we come back, we'll work on the routing up here. They supply this little bracket. You're gonna wrap that around the rubber grommet. We're gonna use this mounting point right here. Leave that just a little bit loose. I don't know, the way this is all coming together is solid. Torque that bad boy down. I like that position. This one's already tight. We're going to be reusing actually all three of these. I misspoke earlier when I said, yeah, we're not reusing that one. That was in fact wrong. I'm going to use that one down here. So 1, 2, and the last one, a little tougher to see. This will be down in this position here. I'm going to do a little reroute here. I'm going to do that off camera to save time, but we'll come back and show you the end result. There is our routing. Spent a little time kind of cleaning up the wiring in this area. We can go ahead and torque these banjo bolts down now. I'm not going to use a torque wrench for this, never do. Spiegler does send a very nice set of instructions if you want to take advantage of those now. By all means, go ahead. These are aluminum and they do not require a ton of torque. I usually give them a couple of passes. Okay, we're good to go. I'm going to put that bracket back on and we're going to move on to the front. Okay, now let's move on to the front line. That rear line turned out pretty sweet. Super happy with that. It's a lot cleaner when you get rid of the ABS. I'm going to start by disconnecting some of the retainers down below here. We're going to have different routing this time too. We're going to have one line that will split off. It's the Spiegler Rennsport configuration. One line that's going to spin off into two. Rubber tie right there. Got another mount down here. It's 8. Bracket comes off like that. Come over to the other side of the bike. I got a couple more. And it's like one more right up here. Okay, we are ready to start removing the lines from the bike now. This should go pretty easy, I would imagine. So you've got your master cylinder line right here. Come up here at the master, undo the banjo. Rubber grommet there. Go over and dispose of this. All right, now we've got the lines that run down to the calipers. All right, when we come back, we're going to begin installing that front Rennsport brake line. Okay, we're ready to install the front line just like the rear did. This came with locator stickers, master cylinder, right caliper, left caliper. Let's go ahead and slide this bad boy into position. There will be some cleanup work that'll be done. Some of the brackets, right? There's stuff that's reused, stuff that's not. So I'll go through this before we start riding it and make sure I eliminate whatever I can while maintaining a really good clean routing. Go ahead and run this down, finger tight. Go over to the other side, do the same thing. All right, like so. This is going to use the horn bracket here. There's a little mount supplied. Line that out, probably right about there is going to be good. So you come up here to the master, and very clearly that fitting is going to need to be rotated clockwise, okay? So I'm going to lower the table down a little bit, and when we come back, we'll be rotating the line. Okay, let's go ahead and get the blocks on here. One thing that I can tell you that is really important is you want to make sure that you don't let the line spin in those plastic blocks. As soon as it starts spinning, you'll be in a position where it just won't grab them anymore. So make sure you hold some good pressure there. Looks like we're going to be good on the very first attempt. I'll take that. Banjo bolt through the fitting. Of course, there's a crush washer between the bolt and the fitting, and then another crush between the fitting and the brake component that you're mating up with. Took it out of that mount just so I could get the thread started a little bit easier. Slide that back in there. That looks pretty darn clean. Let's go ahead and grab a 14 wrench. Torque this one down. I'm going to raise the table back up. And we can torque the two calipers. Okay, now we can go through here. There's a couple of things that I'd probably do, right? I'm not going to do these on camera, but this bracket up here that we're using to hold the brake line here, as well as hold the wheel speed sensor. This whole portion, right, this leg coming off of it can be eliminated. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that on camera. Over here, the horn bracket, we can cut off this whole ear. I don't see any reason to leave that on there any longer. Okay, but once again, not something that we're going to do on camera. We'll do that off camera. We do have this mount over here. This is utilizing one of the bolts that, one of the bolt holes that would have been mounting the horn, which of course, if you have a track bike, the horn is no longer with us. They supply a fastener. I chose to use something that I have. I use these quite a bit on the race bikes. A little more uniform. Good clean routing. I like this. I think they did a nice job with this kit, as they typically do. Then you've got wheel speed sensor routing. I need to drill that fender so I can put this clip in there. You could probably just cable tie it too. So this is something, I'm going to spend a little bit of time cleaning this up after the fact, right? Just to get the cleanest possible result. A couple of cable ties here or there. I don't think that's super relevant to what we're doing now. So we're going to go from this to some brake bleeding. Bleeding the brakes. Some Mo Tool. Brake fluid. I'll leave the cap off for now. Start up here in the front and see if we can't get some fluid moving. I got my speed bleeder bag and hose kit. We sell these on the site for any brake service. These are super handy. You're able to reuse the same one for a real long period of time. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to get fluid moving. I'm going to make sure that the bleeder screw on the other side is tight, obviously. So to just get fluid started, what I'm going to do is open the screw, squeeze and hold the lever, close the screw, release the lever. Open the screw, squeeze and hold the lever, close the screw. We're going to repeat that until we have some fluid moving. Every bike's a little bit different. You know, some a little tougher to get fluid moving, others real quick. We did completely evacuate the system and replace the lines, you know, so everything is totally empty here. So don't be surprised if it takes a few minutes to get the fluid started. Okay, we've got movement in the fluid, got a little bit of a lever. I've refilled the brake fluid. It's very important you do not let the fluid level get too low to where you're just introducing new air into the system. So what I did here is I did this on the right side until we had fluid movement. And then I came back over to the left side and got fluid moving here. The minute I did that, we started to get a lever, so this bike's going to go pretty easy. There is a bleeder screw on the master. At some point, it's quite likely we'll have to hit that one as well. So now what I'll do, now that we have some pressure on the lever, we'll pump it a couple times, hold it, open the screw. Close the screw, release, pump it, hold it. You can see this one's really pretty free of air now. We're going to come up here and hit the master. The lever's already pretty darn good. Go over to the other side. This one's going to go easy. Some bikes end up a little more of a struggle, but this one didn't want to be flash tuned, but it sure doesn't mind having its brakes bled. We'll take it. There is one final thing that I'll do to it, and I think I've shown you guys this before. When I'm all done, before I leave today, I'm going to put a cable tie on the brake lever, holding constant pressure on it. It'll sit all night, and any residual bubbles that may possibly be in the system, and if there are any, they're really tiny, those will all, with the help of gravity, make their way up, and the lever will be absolutely perfect after doing that. So we're good there. That feels fantastic. Now we'll come to the back. This circuit is really short. It's not very often that you find a rear that wants to give you grief. All right, grab our 8mm wrench, bag and hose kit. Oh, I'm sorry, this one's bigger. Forgot that. There's a 10 laying around here somewhere. So, open, push down, close, release, open, push down, close, release. We're going to do that while watching our fluid level. Little refill. Get a little pressure there now. Open. There we go. A lot of movement now. Push down a few times, hold it, open. Starting to get a pedal. There we go. That last little bit of air out, probably need to refill again. Okay, yeah, we're in good shape now. Just need to get that fluid level down to just below that upper mark. We're getting there. Pedal feels great. We're going to call that good. Odds are, before we take it to the track, I'm probably going to remove the rear reservoir and put one of those little Superbike reservoirs on the back. See if I have time before we go. But this works just fine. Snug that up. I will not put the lock back on the front for the front reservoir. There's no reason to do that. cable tie. I'm going to grab one real quick and I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about there. It's also a great way to, like, if you're worried about having leaks, that feels really good already. Just kind of pump it up and hold it. So you have enough, you don't have a long enough cable tie, just grab two, put them together, snug it up, let it sit like that. If there is any air left in the system, it's going to make its way out. So there you have it. There is our Spiegler brake line install on our 2022 STG Yamaha R7 project bike. If you have any comments, leave those in the YouTube comment section. Any questions? I'm always here to help make sure you get the same result from your project we did ours.